Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the brand new Natasha Denona 5-pan Camel eyeshadow palette. I'm going to talk a little bit about the palette. I have two different eye looks for you guys, this one right here as well as a more wearable look. Then I'm going to give you guys some comparisons to some shadows I already have in my collection to see if this is something that you're interested in, and I will give you my final thoughts at the end. So this is what the palette looks like. You're getting 5 different shades in here. The colors are Astro, Dune, Safari, Copperstone, and Zand. These 3 are the mattes in the palette. This one is a satin and this one is a metallic. It retails for $48. I got mine on the Sephora website. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into both of the eye looks. Zoeva 227 and Safari. Starting on the outer corner, I'm going to blend this kind of upward and then into my crease. I'm going to work the product out as much as possible to kind of make it a little bit lighter initially, and then I will add a little bit of color as I feel like it's necessary. I'm bringing that shade all the way to this little inner corner right here. MAC 221 in that same shade. I'm going to work it right underneath the lower lash line. MAC 217 and Zand. I'm going to start on the outer corner and then work it into the crease. I'm going to take that same color and kind of buff it onto the lid with the same 217. And again, I'm going to apply that color on a MAC 221 to the lower lash line. Back in with a 221 and Arasto. I'm going to deepen up this outer V. Just kind of doing soft circular motions to buff that out and kind of smoke out the outer edge. I'm taking that 221 and just kind of running that shade right along the lash line as well, not being specific with it, just kind of throwing it on there. I don't want this to be super pigmented, that's why I'm doing it this way. MAC 228 and Dune, I'm going to apply this to the inner corner. And also the brow arch. To finish off the eye look, all I did was add Nars Via Veneto to the inner rim just up top. I left the lower waterline blank just because I didn't want it to be too dark, but this is the finished look and just mascara on the lashes. Zoeva 227 and Safari. I'm first going to apply this to the outer corner, and then I'm kind of going to work it upward, but not taking it into the crease initially, just kind of circling it up on this outer V to smoke it out. And with the excess on the brush, I'm going to bring it in, but I'm not going to bring it down into the corner, I'm bringing it straight over into this area. I'm going to build it up just a little bit, just on the outer part right here, smoking it out. I want it to be darker on the outer half and just light right in here. Same shade in a MAC 221. I'm going to buff this right along the lower lash line. Same MAC 221 and Arasto. I'm going to deepen up the outer half right here with this shade, just kind of tapping it into place. And then I'm running that into the crease. Slow back and forth windshield wiper motions, and then slowly bringing it up, but not too far. And again, with this shade, I'm bringing it about 3/4 in, but I'm not going to bring it all the way to the inner corner. I'm going to work that right on the lower lash line on the outer corner, bringing it about halfway in, but really concentrating it back here and then blending it forward. MAC 242 and Copper Stone. I'm going to apply this to the lid. Just going to slightly tap over that darker shade, and I will go back and touch that up. Delium 716, and I'm going to apply a little bit of that on the front half of the lower lash line. MAC 242 and Dune, I'm going to apply this to the inner corner and then slightly overlap the last shade we did. Then I'm also going to take that right at the brow arch. Linda Hallberg Flash Crown, I'll leave the name down below. I'm going to line the top and then a little bit in my inner rim. And I'm going to go put on some false lashes. So I finished everything off with just a pair of Salon Perfect Demi Wispies. I am currently out of my Kiss Ritzy Lash, so I'm going to have to go get a pair of those. Everything else on my face will be listed down below. So now for the palette, when I first saw swatches and pictures of this, I will insert them as I'm talking about them. I thought this was a cool toned palette. I was pretty excited about it because I was like, yes, I'm actually more into the neutral cool tones right now than I am the warm tones. It used to be all about warm, 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 but now I'm kind of pulled back on the warmth and I'm leaning more again towards neutral and cool. So when I saw the swatches of this, I was in heaven, but then you started to see very contradicting pictures on this palette. I had ordered this as soon as it dropped. Then I started to question whether or not I should have gotten it because on the Sephora website, you can see the picture looks very warm. And I was seeing other pictures of it looking extremely warm. And I was like, I don't want an orange shade. I don't want an orangey red shade. I don't want, you know, a copper. Like I have so many of them. And I don't know if it's like my hair, skin tone, or whatever, but I'm feeling like I even look better in the neutral tones. So I was starting to get disappointed. Luckily, when I got this palette in my hands, I realized it is not that warm, but it is also nowhere near cool. I find this palette to be neutral warm, so it's not overwhelmingly so, like you're gonna get a really warm look out of it. Even this look here, I don't feel like is very warm. I feel like I created a pretty neutral tone look with it. The warmest shade is definitely the last one in the palette, but it's still not overly so. Like this swatched up against MAC's Saddle, you can see the difference. Like when I'm looking in the pan, I'm thinking that looks pretty warm, but then if you see it on my finger, it's nowhere near. So these are dupeable shades. I don't have exact dupes in my collection, but I don't know, there's something about them that's just slightly different, but not really a must-have if you have shades like this in your collection. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the swatches of the shadows that I pulled out of my collection. I went through basically everything. My Sydney Grays, my MAC, my Anastasia Beverly Hills, and Makeup Geek shadows, and I just picked the ones that were the closest. So I'm going to show you the swatches of the Natasha Denona and then right below so you can compare them, the swatches of the ones that I picked out. So first I have Espresso from MAC, Mocha from Makeup Geek, Rice Paper also from MAC, as well as Soba. Soba does have a little bit of a sheen to it. Tiki Hut from Makeup Geek, Fawn from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and Saddle from MAC. And then I had to pull from 2 eyeshadow palettes to be able to swatch like the gold shade. So if you have the MAC Warm Neutral palette, I swatched Amber Lights. Then out of the Mellow Moderns, I swatched Luscious right here. So while I do think that these are just slightly different than the ones I have in my collection already, I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's a must-have palette by any means. It's a nice, neutral, warm palette that you can take and use with you on vacation, travel, or on the daily. You can get different looks out of this. I think it's very easy to use. The mattes blended like I expected them to. I initially thought that this shade right here was supposed to be metallic, so when I first put it on, I was a little bit confused by that, but it's a satin, so it makes sense now. I will say that this coppery shade right here, Copper Stone, is not the traditional Natasha Denona metallic formula. I don't know what's going on. I obviously I can get it to work. I didn't use it wet, I just used it dry. It still looks nice, and you could use it wet to make it more intense, but it's still not that Natasha Denona formula. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that one particular shade. Everything else I think performed really well. I got a little bit of fallout, but not much, and I loved both of the looks that I got out of it. I will get a lot of use out of this because on the daily basis, I use things that are more natural, and that's what this is. It's a natural, just kind of go-to type of palette. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already, and let me know down below if you plan on picking this up or if you have already. What are your thoughts? And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.